to a brand new episode of Off the Track Podcast. We're joined today by two members of the group, Matt Katnik and Mecca, and they'll introduce themselves.
Hey guys, my name is Matt Katnik. I'm a 6-year senior on the USC track team. I'm a shot putter, business major, team captain, and a 2-time All-American. And I'm super happy to be part of something like this.
Hey guys, my name is Mecca McGlaston. I am a 5th-year senior now on USC's track team, and I'm a hurdler and sprinter, communication major with a minor in cinematic arts, and I'm very, very excited to be part of this podcast today.
As Eric said before, welcome back to another episode of the Track Podcast. It is episode 5. We have a great show for you. Up next, we have a special guest coming to the podcast. Dunford, the athletic trainer for the USC Trojans. Man has a lot of knowledge and wisdom, and we're all going to be blessed to hear what he has to say. So without further ado, let's bring him in.
Dunford.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Dunford.
Main man himself.
How's it going?
Oh, well, I missed you.
I love the throwback. I miss you guys too.
How's everything going with the family?
We're doing good. They're in the room right now. They're like getting ready for bed. So, but no, they're doing good. They're doing really good. So now we can actually move on. The LAUSD just announced that they're going online for Kira school. So,
Oh, that should be fun.
please just
Yeah.
move on, because that's the conversation for the last few months. It's like they kept sending us surveys to figure out what parents wanted to do. So.
That's interesting for kids. I know if I was just that young, I would not pay attention.
Absolutely not.
No way.
Not for us.
She had a class today, like a summer school class, and she's watching the screen, and then something's going on to the side, so she's like paying attention there. I'm like, no, listen to your teacher. She's about to ask you a question. But she's done pretty good. Like, I mean, most of the spring was online for them, and she did pretty good, just adjusting, to the whole situation. They didn't really complain much. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
How about you guys? How's everyone doing?
Everybody
playing.
family taking day by day.
Good.
Same way you do.
All we can do.
Yeah, that's it. So, speaking of that, how have you been with all this stuff that's going on with the COVID-19, this quarantine, and now with the uncertainty of, coming back to school? How have you been adjusting with all this?
I mean, to be honest with you, I've been pretty good. I mean, I think everyone went through this a little bit differently. Everyone's got their own little journey, and how they handled quarantine. For me, it was like you guys know how it is during the season, during the year. It's like we got number one priority, is to get things done at the school. 12 years as an athletic trainer, this is the first time like I had 3 solid months at home with family. So did my best to take care of that, to handle that, and be around for them. But in the back of my mind, I was still in like 100%, like 100 miles per hour, going quick, trying to like fill the time with something. And like I said, it worked out eventually once we got in a little rhythm. So yeah, like I said, just didn't look too far ahead because there was so much uncertainty during like when we started in March. But again, just try to take it day by day. Communicate with people, at school, communicate with people, that's like, friends and people that I haven't talked to in a while, just to kind of break that monotony of staring at the same walls, for the day. And like I said, we got into a really good rhythm, and now it's like we're back to, this is my 2nd week working at SE again. And again, it's the same thing. We're now adjusting with, Governor Newsom shutting down the indoor gyms and a lot of other facilities. We kind of went back one phase just to try to settle what's going on with COVID. So
So SC's is going back one phase two?
No, not necessarily. We're already like still early in the stages. Just kind of we had to change some of the things that we were doing in terms of facility usage with football, but for the most part, everything's still going like on track. It's just we got to adjust to the city. It's at the end of the day, the city and the state. If they make any rule changes, we've got to abide by what they're telling us.
Right. And I feel like with that, me personally, I feel like all of this could be very preventable if in the first place, all the residents in California would just, stay inside, but can't control everybody. So it's like taking 3 steps back, and we haven't even really taken no 2 steps forward. So
it was just confusing because originally, they were talking about opening up in July. So it was kind of a shock to everybody because I have friends that that work in gyms, and they were like, "Oh, we can open up like 3 weeks ahead of schedule." So they're trying to scramble to make sure they have their protocols in place. Businesses that weren't prepared to do it were obviously like, "Hey, we can open up. Let's figure out if we can do this safely." But there's not a lot of time. Like they didn't have a lot of time to plan. I have my theories for why they reopened early, but I just think people weren't ready, and you saw what happened. It's like people have been home for so long, and the moment they get that freedom, they go out, are going hanging out with people. Like, I mean, that's just the perfect combination for the numbers to start coming back up again.
Yeah, good weather will make people go outside.
Yeah.
Man, what?
Make you feel like Superman.
Right.
And here in Maryland, our weather didn't really get good to like May, mid to late May.
Yeah.
By then, everybody was still inside. People, it's like here, no one really had the urge to like venture out, party and whatnot. I guess that's the difference between like a northern state and a southern state, or a coastal state. Yeah.
I mean, people were protesting. I don't know if you guys saw the news, like early, maybe like 2 months in, people were protesting, like
down by like the beaches.
Trying to get businesses to open up again, like trying to put pressure on, Mayor Garcetti's. They're going to his house, like trying to protest to get people to open up or to get them to open up the state again. I don't think people see the impact. I think it's, part of it is, the person who runs our country is very wishy-washy in terms of how people should, approach the situation. So you have a lot of people who are, listening to that, and you have a lot of people who are listening to the science behind it and understanding that, hey, this is a real thing. Just because, they're kind of downplaying the impact on the younger population. They're saying it's, only affects the older people, but I mean, we don't know the long-term effect of this virus, really, right? I mean, we just know. I mean, it's been around, I think, maybe since like late fall, and people are still learning. People are still learning how to treat this. People are still learning how the body reacts to it. And like I said, we just don't know what the long-term ramifications of this for us health.
I feel like that's the bad part is people kind of left out certain variables that they might get it, or I'm too young to get it. My immune system's gonna fight it off, and then they slip up and go outside or go in a public place with a bunch of people without wearing their mask, and next thing you know, the numbers went up by the thousands. So I just feel like people need to, not single themselves out. It's a virus. Anybody can catch it.
Or think about the people they expose when they go out. Even though us as young people who are cardiovascularly pretty fit, we may not get it, but we'll carry it, and we'll go see our grandparents who may get it. That's where things get kind of scary for me.
Right. And then the asymptomatic people, if that's the word, where they don't show symptoms. So you never know. Somebody could be walking around looking normal, not looking sick, and even yourself, you could have it and not know. That's why people just got to be careful.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. And the thing that frustrates me the most is, people. It's like, hey, the argument of, hey, the numbers are going up because more people are getting tested. I'm like, okay, but why are people getting tested?
Exactly.
They're tested because they're getting sick, or they're around somebody who got sick. So it's like, that's why the numbers. That's why people are going out to get tested. Like, let's not try to change the story and say that the numbers are higher because people are going out to test. I mean, COVID is not something we're born with, right? We're not just. It's like we're trying to find out our blood type. No, this is trying to find out if we're sick or not.
Yeah, this COVID is like an invisible monster going around, and people just feel invincible, like they Superman. Like, I'm just gonna do whatever and however. Then next thing you know, they catch it, and then it just goes downhill from that. Because I know out here in Atlanta, since I'm where I live, I'm by like malls and outlets and places like that, and I see like those places starting to get packed full of people, and it's just like, do y'all not know like there's this invincible creature that's going around here? So it's just like the numbers gonna still keep rising if they do protest or if they're not. So it just people just gotta be more educated on what's really going on.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like right after the George Floyd killing, I was conflicted of going out to protest or not because I really, really did not want to get sick, but I had to go. Like something was just itching me. I was like, you should go. So I went down there and went. I luckily everyone who was down there was wearing a mask. Thank God. I don't know how people did, but just now, like I don't want to go out, especially in an indoor setting. Mm-mm. I'll see y'all later. But yeah,
We're still limiting everything. We're not like, we kept everything pretty much the same. I mean, even the people in my circle, we kept everything the same. Like, we're not trying to go out, do any more than what we've been doing for the last 3 months. I think that's the best way, to handle your situation, to make sure you're taking care of you and then the people directly around you, and then obviously, the rest of the population, making sure you're not doing anything, extra.
right. Yeah. Share with the team like your thoughts after the George Floyd killing. But can you share your initial thoughts of you seeing that video and the Ahmaud Arbery case and the Breonna Taylor case?
Well, it was not easy. I mean, I remember when, I was working out in my apartment, in the middle of the warm up, and I go to check my phone just to change the song, and then, someone had sent me the video. So, I sit down and I watch, and I'm like, I'm watching this thing, and I'm just, you hear the people pleading, the witnesses pleading. You hear loud and clear George Floyd in his position pleading, and we saw. I mean, this was a murder. Like, we see that live, or not live, but we see it in the full timeline of that event. And it wasn't easy. Like, to be honest with you, I was numb, and I'm like, I can't believe this just, this just happened. Like, in a day and age we're at now, where technology is so easy to get to. I mean, you've got millions of people seeing this, and you can't deny the fact that, this is a real thing that's happening. So I stopped. I went back into the apartment, and I just said, I talked to my wife, and I'm like, hey, did you see this video? Like, did you? And we just sat and talked about it. And it was just, like I said, it was really hard to put into words. I mean, literally, the life just left. And again, for that, for the officer to keep doing what he was doing, and then for people to argue that like he was fine. Like, how do you even argue that? You know,
Right.
like even if people would say, oh yeah, the emotions are high, the adrenaline is high. Like if the guy is telling you he can't breathe and he's calling out for his mother, this is not normal.
Yeah. Those type of videos, I have a real hard time watching it. Like I'm normally one of the last people to watch it. I'll go like a couple of days after everyone has talked about it to watch it.
Yeah.
But for this one, like everyone just told me I gotta watch it, so I watched it, and then I don't know, I just froze. I was like,
yeah,
I froze for 5 minutes, and I was like, yeah, nah, we done. I'm done. I can't take this no more.
Yeah.
And my brother.
For me, for me, it was a little bit different because, COVID-7, he's been staying with. So, CNN, NBC, everybody, showing the video and whatnot. So I'm just there watching it, dissecting it. And then, my little cousin came in. At first, I wanted to change it because, like, no, she need seen it graphic. But then it hit me like, don't need to have this conversation with me or somebody else in the family because, but you're only 7. So I was explaining to her, going through the history of what racism is, what segregation is, and we went way back, just educating her on why, the Black community is so with that video, it was just very, very graphic because you just like they took his life away. Like you see videos where somebody got shot, and you have those encounters, but for this specific video to be 10 minutes long and he just laying there basically getting choked to death by his knee, it was very, very hard to watch and even very hard to explain to my little cousin the significance of what is going on in this world. And she's only 7.
Oh, and we got to talk to me and my wife were talking about it, and then, the girls are here. I got, 4-year-old, and Arlen just turned 3, July 1. So, we're talking about it, and they're like, "Hey, Mom, what are you guys talking about?" Like, and then to have to explain, and I did my best to explain. They're not going to understand really, but I did my best to explain, like, what happened. Without, obviously we're not going to show the video, but just to explain like what that whole situation was all about. And, the conversation got even more, I wouldn't say in depth, but we had more conversations after that as, the protests happened, as, I'm watching the news, trying to, figure out what's going on, at least locally for me, for us here in LA, what's going on with, different parts of the city. So, we're watching that, questions of, hey, what does that mean? Like, what's happening? So, well, yeah, it was like, the first thing, going back to the original question, the first thing too was with Ahmaud Arbery. It's like, had it not been for COVID, this thing might have slid like past everybody.
Yeah.
Because then now it's like everyone's home, everyone's on their using their technology, and it's like getting this story. Now we'll have more time to do more research on the story. People aren't distracted by work or by other things they're normally doing when we're not in this quarantine. So the message gets spread. So and the outcry for, hey, why is this okay? Like, why did this not get investigated any further? And then again with Brianna, you find out about her situation, and as more and more evidence comes out from it, it's just I do this. I'm like, why is it? Like, why are we still? It's over 118 days, and there's still nothing really going on with it. And it's like, hey, we fired one of the officers, but it's like, okay, like what's next? We created a new law well, what's next? It's not going to bring back. I mean, obviously, nothing will bring her back. But in terms of just doing the right thing, it's like that's not even a conversation that's being had. It's like it's like I don't know what else what else people need. I mean, you read the story. No matter how much you read the story and how much you try to if you're on the other side talking about it, you try to make it right. There's nothing right about it.
And this goes back to the Rodney King situation where, that's when the first, actual video has been put out to the public. And I mean, you have all the evidence that you need that those officers should have been fired and arrested. So really, it started way back when,
right,
with the Rodney King situation. And that just goes to show you how corrupt the system really is, and the people that are in place in that system needs to be, questioned as well, because how much evidence do you need? And I feel like us as a people, we just got to continue to, go up there and keep voicing,
right,
the change of equality and, equal rights, because I don't know how much more evidence that you need for all of these cases. Like I don't see how much more evidence that you need, and why does a trial have to go 3 months and y'all still haven't decided, and y'all have everything right there in y'all hands.
You know what baffles me? Rodney King happened in 1992, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s. There was a video of that. I was 11 years old when I saw the video of Oscar Grant getting shot at the BART station in Oakland. And here I am, 21 years old, seeing yet another video of another black man getting murdered by a law enforcement. And, it's crazy that decades after Rodney King happened, there's still video evidence of the same crime being committed by the same people, police officers. So at what point do people start to realize that it's not just them being caught in the act? This is what the system is. This is what they do. This is their lives, our lives. Like, for this to happen multiple times, this is no accident that somebody just so happened to be recording something, being an incident being taking place. This is what they do to us. This is the system and how corrupt it is. That's exactly what it is. They're being exposed. So at what point are these videos going to be, not just evidence, but proof that the system is corrupt? And it's ridiculous.
At what point do people need to stop arguing the fact that this was okay because they were a convicted felon? Like what? Like, right? Yeah, but that didn't happen right then. I mean, everyone else is what innocent until proven guilty. It's like, and you're not being punished for that particular thing you did years ago. I mean, even if it happened right then and there, it still doesn't mean that you can go kill somebody. You just for something you still have to go through that process. It's like, again, I've heard that argument. I have friends who are who are in LAPD, and it's like, honestly, I had to mute people or not follow people anymore, because it's like how can that be an argument? How can that be something that you use to justify someone's life? Like being taken away that way, that's like, to me, it's like, it just blows me away that that's like an excuse. That's not an excuse.
There's just too many.
I'm glad you brought that up, because
There's just too many people preaching hate and division instead of love and unity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to preach every day: love and unity every day. Because we just gotta fight the hate. That's what it comes to.
Yeah, it's so hard to convince people that it's not a left versus right thing. it's just a right versus wrong. Like what happened in all these cases is just wrong.
Yeah.
As soon as it becomes entrenched in one side, you're going to get half the population fighting one way and half the population fighting the other, and we just get stuck in this rut like we did in '92, and what happens every time something like this happens, and it's super sad to see.
Right.
Yeah, going back to what you said, Dunford, I say the reason why we see it's easy for us to see why it's so wrong because we're looking through the uniform. And a lot of people not looking through the uniform. They just think, oh, he's a police officer. He just do whenever and however as he please because he has some type of power. But at the end of the day, we all people. You're not a police officer 24/7. At some day, you have to clock out of work, and you are a regular citizen. So at the end of the day, you are a citizen in the United States. What you did was murder, straight up. That you can't justify what a person did in his past, where he had a felon or he had a heart problem. That doesn't matter because y'all both are citizens, and you killed him, second degree murder. So that's what the conflict is at. Some people are looking through uniform, and some people just looking at the uniform and like, oh, he just doing his job. It's not the case.
Yeah, so Dunford, what have been the things you've been doing in the community to spread awareness, to help fight the cause, to help spread the love and the hate, and just, I don't know, create an environment of equality?
The first part was just, for me, was kind of looking at myself a little bit more and figure out, because at the point it was like very overwhelming. It's like, yeah, I want to help, but it's like, what lane am I gonna, what am I gonna choose? Where am I gonna go with it? So initially, it was learning more about, like, listening or looking at other people's stories, listening to what other stories or experiences people have had. I think that was the key thing. Just obviously we know from, you guys had talked to Coach Hugh about this in the first podcast, but you learn, what you know from the history that you're taught, and I'm 39 now. When the Rodney King situation happened, I was like 12. But it's like every year there's always something, and there's another story. There's another story of brutality, another story of injustice, another story of racism. And I think just like being cued into that situation, like every year, it's like, I wasn't mature back then to know what to do about or know how to approach it. Now when this whole thing happened with George Floyd, it was like, okay, enough's enough. I can't, sit back here and just not say anything, not share a story, or if I learned something, not share that information. Again, I can't ever know how that feels, or how a young black man or a young black woman or a black person will ever feel when in instances of prejudice or racism. Like I can't ever put myself in. I'll never experience it. So for me, it was more trying to learn and listen, like early, listen to what people are saying, listen to people's stories. It got to the point where I have a few friends that are really, like, I wouldn't say they're activists, but they speak out a lot. So I started listening to things they're saying more. It went to the point where I started to change my social media feed in terms of what I'm seeing, because again, I needed to learn more things. Again, all of it was to figure out how I can use my platform, how I can use, myself to be in this fight, right? Be in this thing for the long haul. Again, it wasn't for, hey, just for a little bit. Once this thing dies down, then we go about our regular life. It wasn't about that. So, I was fortunate enough to, early during COVID, I met some people outside of USC, all working as in the health profession too. So we were talking pretty closely for, since March up until now, and we just finished like a little cohort together. And what better group to kind of sit down and figure out what the next steps would be on our end. Again, just trying to figure out what we can do as athletic trainers, physical therapists. Some were massage therapists, some were personal trainers, but how we can use our respective platforms into finding an impact, finding a way to make an impact in these social injustices. So things like obviously like sharing information, but we also talked about how representation within those respective fields. That's something that the BIPOC community is really underrepresented in those fields. So that's something that we're still talking about that right now in terms of what can we do going forward to change this representation. Again, it's not going to happen like that in a month or so, but this is something that we can as a group go long term and figure out ways to change the narrative. But yeah, just watching watching things like I would write down people's recommendations in terms of, hey, read this book or watch the show. I sat down and watched 13th, and I'm like, all you needed to watch is that to give you an answer what the hell is going on in our time. To argue that systemic racism isn't a thing, to argue that slavery ended hundreds of years ago. All you need to do is watch the 13th documentary, and you get your answers right there, and give you a timeline on why we're in this situation we're in now.
They do not want to go there.
It's crazy because 13th is not the only film that depicts exactly the truth. There's hundreds of films.
Plethora.
Yeah, and then obviously I work in the medical field, so that was a big thing. I started seeing how Black patients are mistreated in the health field. So I actually took a course. There was a Black physical therapist who was teaching about allyship and racism. So she spent a big portion of it talking about the history of healthcare for the enslaved, right? And you're seeing stories of just mistreatment, like from what's his name, the gynecologist, right, who was basically doing experiments on the enslaved people, especially the women, to try to figure out more about medicine, whatever. To me, it just doesn't make sense why. And then the Tuskegee study was another one. It's like injecting somebody, people with syphilis and letting them just go through time and not giving them any way to recover from it. So it's like it's just insane. It's insane, like reading about it and just like, how is that even okay?
Yeah, I know here, like white people go to like certain hospitals in this state because they know the other hospitals here will not treat them well at all.
Right.
And I think a lot of states in the South are like that too.
Yeah, it's only a few good hospitals that you're gonna be in good hands with, and it's crazy. Only a few, and we have all these hospitals and clinics out here, and it's only like maybe 5 at least. It's
few different hospitals and a healthy growing population, and then we got to narrow down our options to 1 or 2 if lucky.
Yeah,
that's a big issue for us.
So I'm gonna transition a little bit for the listeners who don't know you fully. If you could give us, a background of yourself, where you grew up from, your childhood, teenagehood, adulthood, all the above. You could give that for the people.
39, so I got a long time. Well, let's go from the very beginning. So I was born in 1980 in the Philippines. So I grew up in Manila, which is, I guess, the biggest city in the Philippines. So I was there until I was 8 years old, and we kind of bounced around from the city to the countryside. So my little sister was born in a smaller country, there's a volcano, we got rice fields. It's I mean, I don't remember a lot of it because obviously it was a long time ago, but I do remember running around as a kid, playing around, seeing the rice fields and the water buffaloes and all that stuff. But the last maybe 3 years, we were in the city living with my uncle. So we moved. Obviously, the number one reason people leave places like the Philippines is for the American dream, right? So, luckily we were so my great grandfather was a U.S. citizen. He was born in Hawaii. Sorry, my grandfather was a U.S. citizen. So back then, any of his children became U.S. citizens as well. So, growing up, I think we lived a lot better than I think the norm because of that citizenship. In the Philippines, they really value the American lifestyle, right? If you're an American living in the Philippines, it's like your class system is a little bit different. So anyways, it was easy for my dad to go to the U.S. first to get started. So he actually lived in the U.S. for a couple of years before my mother and my older brother and my younger sister all moved to the U.S. And I'm 8 years old, just finished second grade. I didn't know any English except for I knew one word. The only word I knew was yes. So let's just say I got made fun of a lot. People ask, how kids can be, man. They asked me some really weird questions, and they knew I was going to answer yes. So it became people just making fun of me. But I've got thick skin. That was fine, and I didn't know they were making fun of me anyways. I didn't know what they were saying. Anyway, so I grew up in the Bay Area. So I grew up in Daly City. So that's why me and Mecca are like this, because I'm just kidding. But yeah, we grew up in Daly City. I went through, obviously, grade school, junior high school, all over there. And I found out about athletic training and physical therapy back when I was running track in high school. I used to get pretty bad shin splints. We didn't have an athletic trainer at the school. So, I'd kind of do my own research in terms of how to take care of it. I didn't like the recommendations I would get from people was like, oh, ice and Advil. I'm like, how is that going to make me better in the long run? So after a while, I started to kind of learn more about the profession. And I thought it seemed really cool being able to, someone like me who had it through my 4 years running track and cross country. How cool would it be to be able to help somebody with that? So I went to junior college in the Bay. I was one of the first people in the sports medicine class at this particular university or junior college. And as I learned more and more about the profession, it was like, yeah, this is something I want to do. And from talking to my counselors, a lot of the better schools were in Southern California. So I transitioned and looked at some schools here in LA, and found Cal State Northridge. So I went to CSUN from 2003. I started in the athletic training program there in 2006. Finished in 2008. Passed my board exam, so I got my my certification. And then so for 2 years after that, or a year for 2 years, I spent time as a grad student at CSUN. I was also a grad assistant at the school there. And then, again, I was lucky to be at the right place at the right time. I'm looking for jobs when I finished as a GA. And luckily there was a position at CSUN, so I transitioned into that position. So for my first 2 years there, I was working women's volleyball, softball, and women's tennis. And then my last 4 years, I went from women's volleyball to women's soccer, but I kept the other two sports. And eventually I got a GA, so he was covering, softball and tennis. But from there, around 2014, there was a really good opportunity to come to SC, and it was a hard choice at the time, because not because I didn't think SC was like a good place, but my wife was going to give birth to in like a few months to Kira at that time. So for me, it was like, do I make the change now? And with the baby coming, but she supported me obviously, and Russ at SC understood the situation, and when the job was offered, I took it. Knowing that obviously SC has been a dream job for me since I was in athletic training program as a student. So actually I'd interned at SC in 2007, and that was always a goal for me to be able to work at a high level university like that. And now this is what, year number 6. Going into year 6 at SC, yeah. So, time just flew by. Time flew by for sure.
You made me feel old.
I'm saying.
In a few years, we'll do this, and I'll interview you, and you can tell me about your time.
Oh, man.
Can we get some good news for the season? What are you looking forward most to this upcoming season?
Finish
everybody.
Finish what we started. Finish what we started. It's we were coming into last year, with a chip on our shoulder, trying to, on both sides, right? Trying for redemption. And I thought we were, ready to go. And obviously, COVID has its own mind. We can control what COVID wants to do, but I guess the same mentality coming into next year, into this fall, spring, whenever we start up, is just to finish what we started. Hopefully, we've all learned a little bit of something over the last 3 months in terms of what we need to do individually to accomplish the goals that we have as a team, and then to accomplish the goals that you have personally or individually, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously see you guys, man. Like, we got back from NCs, and it was like, okay, go home. No one got to say goodbye to anybody. We didn't know how long it was going to be. We would text each other and call each other, but it was just kind of not having that closure over the season was a little. I know it was rough for myself, the coaching staff, and we can only imagine what it was like for you guys. So I think just to get back, get back into our little routine. Try to make some noise when the season comes.
Now I know that going back to school is going to be totally different. It's going to be a lot of restrictions and rules and regulations. So how do you feel about, the returning of, I know I said this before, but it was like in a broader statement, but for having, the track team to come back, are you ready to come back, or you feel like, still need to hold off on some things?
I'm ready to go back. I'm always going to be ready, but I think it's the health and welfare of the student athletes is really important. And I can't speak for other schools, but at least at SC we're doing our best to make sure the proper protocols are in place. Like a lot of different things are in place. We're not rushing into anything. We're making sure that, obviously, like I said, we're abiding by what the city wants us to do. We're abiding by what the university wants us to do in terms of bringing people back. And I think we're seeing nationally at other schools, other universities, where they're getting quite a few numbers. And I don't want to rush into anything and just kind of make sure that everyone's coming back as safely as possible. And we're in a unique situation where you guys are going to be impacted heavily by the rest of the student body, right? I mean, you guys, not to say that they don't have any aspirations or anything like that, but we're obviously trying to have a season. We're trying to have meets. We're trying to have these athletic events. You guys all have your own individual aspirations, and I think other people may not have that. So their decision making is going to be a little different than your decision making, and it's hard to control that aspect of it, right? It's easy to control, the protocols and how we check in and do our wellness checks and all that stuff. But again, it's hard to police. It's hard to control the rest of the school, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm staying optimistic.
I'll run in a mask if I have to.
That's the rule. You gotta run.
That's the rule?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be training for the wild cards.
I mean, we obviously it's like I said, I don't know any details. I think, obviously we can't do what we've been doing and training as a group as a whole, right? Like there's going to be a lot of things in place to protect everyone, to protect groups, like maybe smaller groups. Again, I don't know. I don't have all the details. It's like we get news as like they develop because I think the university doesn't want to send info that's 50-50, right? They want to send people information that's 100% fact that it's actually going to happen. So I think that's the hard part, and providing you guys that info is just nothing is certain right now. Something like
I had a question, Dunford. I'm just curious. So, throughout your time being a athletic trainer, you've worked in predominantly Black sports, and you've developed relationships with your athletes. So what have you yourself witnessed about their particular stories, or have heard or seen the struggles that many Black athletes face, in the athletic world that, non-Black athletes wouldn't really have to face, or that you yourself haven't really experienced?
I think part of it is, we may not necessarily have talked about it in depth, but it's the energy. I feel the energy with our group. Sometimes when we travel, we're in a situation that's foreign to us, and I can feel the energy of uneasiness, right? So I'm very sensitive to that. So when I feel people around me, it's like they may not be able to say or act the way they want to. I think it sucks. I mean, and the other big thing I see is just not being able to have a voice, not being able to express the things you guys want to express, because you're always worried about a blowback from someone, right? From a higher up. And I think, you guys forming the UBSAA is that's great. Let your voice be heard. Let this be the time where you have this empowerment. Let this be a time where let's not be silent anymore. Let's speak up. Let's speak up on the things. Again, I may not know full stories of situations that people have been in, but this is a time for the group as a whole to be able to say, to be able to voice experiences that they've had, so that people are aware and can make a change, so this doesn't happen anymore. Again, that's really easy to say that this doesn't happen anymore. It's like, people have to meet you guys halfway, meet the people who are advocating for this, us halfway, so that, something good can come out of it.
Yeah, that's all.
So I mean, that when I saw that, I was like, this is great. I mean, why not now? Why not you guys? Why does it have to be, the the same voices that's out there, advocating? Why is it, why can't the younger the younger group, like you guys who are going to do something great in this life, why can't you guys start at this age and let your voices be heard? Let your voices be heard.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to tell our generation. No, we always find a way to come to a solution, and I think this movement is a prime example of that, and a lot of good things is coming from it. So I'm excited for the next couple months to see what change actually happens.
Don't stop. This is
Absolutely.
don't stop. Easy to
Yeah,
stop.
I think our generation.
It's easy to stop and just to, get carried away with, things you want to do or what people are doing around you. And I think this is an opportunity for not just the Black student athlete, the young, Black American, but for everybody who sees that things that are happening are wrong. This is an opportunity to just, like you said, show love amongst each other and fight for that one goal, right?
Yeah, because even though I'll be thinking about myself, I'm like thinking about the 8-year-old student, athlete coming up in the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Because we was once that person looking up to college athletes and professionals. So yeah, I would just be thinking about them and all the hardships they're going through.
Yeah, I just think our generation's ambition, like we just had enough of it. So to hear you, Dunford, to let us know that all that does is just let know we just head in the right direction. You being in the older generation is like, okay, we doing something right, and people are starting to notice. So, but yeah, I think although very far from the finish line, but I feel like over time, step by step, day by day, that it's gonna change is gonna happen. They won't be able to deny us. They already deny us for decades. I feel like time right now is like eventually they can't deny us no more.
The biggest thing is, to hold each other accountable. I mean, that's, people like, I'm talking to, we have like I said, this little advocacy group that a bunch of us are in. We basically said, hey, we got to hold each other accountable. Like, we can't be saying all these things and then, when it's time for actions to happen, it's like, okay, let's go. Let's go. Where is it? Let's make these actionable things a reality. So.
Yeah, I just hope, like with this platform, I just hope to inspire people to don't stop, don't ever stop, just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I feel like, now that protests, even though we are still having protests, I feel like it's starting to die down, and I feel like as we transition to school, I just feel like that everybody would just have that same goal in mind, like, hey, we still fighting, for one purpose and one purpose only, that's to get equal rights. So I just feel like as we transition, and if you like we have the NBA coming up, if that happens, and if you have the NFL coming up, so I just feel like with all these events that's coming in the next couple of months, I just feel like we all as a people just need to. Although, yeah, that's fine and dandy. Like we can pay attention to those things, but we still have a goal. We still have a plan. Still have a job to take care of. So as we transition, I just hope that people just don't, swerve off in another direction, because that's not going to get us nowhere.
And we got to get more people out to. November is right around the corner. I think just getting people out there into the polls to let our voices be heard there too, right? Like that's such an important thing, and and you're not too young. Like I just said, you're not too young to to make your voices heard, but to also make your vote heard. You know, that's November's going to be huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so looking at, you know, obviously we're looking at the presidential candidates, but we have to look at some other things within that ballot, you know, whether it's propositions, whether it's other seats in, you know, in Congress. I think it's really important that, you know, people do the research to make sure that we have people in places of power where, you know, we said this is a systemic thing, right? This is not just a police thing, right? This is everything. This is the whole structure. We have to be able to, you know, put people in positions where, like, yeah, they're going to hear the voice, and they're going to hear, you know, the fight for equality, and they're also going to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On UBSAA, we're working on a lot of voter stuff to make sure people on campus are ready to vote come November 3rd. Can't wait to release that. It's gonna be big.
That's
No, you guys are doing good, man. I'm telling you, like, don't let the hate or people who oppose kind of knock you guys off of your rail, you know, your track. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Got a lot of people supporting you guys. Just don't forget that, okay?
always. You know, as we approach an hour in this podcast, the man, the myth, the legend, Dunford, we appreciate you, you know, for all the people out there. Hey,
Love you, man.
man has
You're the man,
man
Dunford.
has a lot of wisdom.
That-
And we still waiting for that book that you're going to release 10 years later. We still waiting on it.
Your own documentary, the book.
Yeah, you really do.
Okay.
You really do.
I can make it.
D-Rob, you might have like 4 chapters in there. You know?
But he's in here again.
He's like, golly, what's going on?
D-Rob character is interesting.
Oh,
When D-Rob, when you text me about this opportunity, you know, I was like, normally I'd say no, but you know, you guys, it's an honor to be here. Like, you know, I don't want to let you guys down, and you know, spending an hour with you guys, which, you know, it's been taken away from us. So being able to spend this time just to talk about, I mean, these are conversations that we normally wouldn't talk about, right?
all right.
I think in terms of our, you know, relationship outside of, you know, track treatments, prehab, you know, exercises, this is something that, you know, I would hope to continue to grow. Okay.
Definitely.
Always.
Thank you,
Sir,
Dunford.
Well, thank you, Matt. We really appreciate you guys.
have a great night. Get some good sleep. We appreciate, hey, once again, I appreciate you to taking the time out of your busy schedule
Hope to see you in the
to
future.
join us.
Yeah. See you guys in the
To
future.
join us in the conversation, and love you, man.
I love you guys too.
Love you, Dunford.
Take care of yourselves. We miss you guys. Okay. Stay safe.